Welcome back, beautiful souls. Today, we're taking a friendly stroll into the intriguing world of understanding something called the illusion of the self, or, in simpler terms, the way we see ourselves. It's like trying to figure out if the mirror always tells the whole truth. Think of it this way: our minds sometimes play a funny game, creating an idea about ourselves that might not be entirely true. This idea is what we'll explore together. It's like unraveling a mystery. Now, let's add another layer to our adventure: the ego. This is a bit like a character in the story of you. It's the part that says, "I did this," or "I'm good at that." Imagine it as your personal storyteller. So, with warm smiles and open hearts, join me on this journey. We'll peel back the layers of thoughts and stories we tell ourselves, discovering the magical world of the illusion of the self and the role of our ego. Welcome, friends, to an exploration of you, wrapped in the delightful mystery of the mind. The illusion of the self, according to traditional spiritualism, describes this false sense of self that people identify with and end up believing that's who they are. The reason why they call it an illusion, it is because it's based on subjective constructs. It's a duality-based identity associated with certain aspects of your life. Different types of spiritual traditions have their own ways of describing this illusion of the self. There are many terms and pointers that different traditions use to explain it. Some traditions call it the illusion of Maya, some call it the false self-image, identity, the ego, and so on. In this current lesson, for better clarity and understanding, I'm going to use the terms such as ego, personality, the false sense of self or separate self. Do not be confused about these terms. Those terms describe the same thing, and I'm not trying to play semantics with you. I will be using those terms interchangeably, so don't be confused. A big, warm welcome to all. Join me as we embark on this adventure, peeling back the layers to discover the wonderful surprise that is the nature of the self. Ready? Let's dive in. Ego, or the personality, is this false sense of self that a lot of you identify with during the course of your lives. Ego, according to ancient spiritualism, is complete identification with form. Anything that is a form in this mental and physical universe that you identify with becomes part of the ego. When I say form, I'm talking about your thought formations, emotions, materials, your physical body, or anything that is a form in this world. The moment you get attached to these things, they become part of your false identity. You have an ego the moment your mother gives you a name during birth. As time goes on, when you grow up, when you go through certain experiences in your life, your ego becomes more and more stronger and ends up taking over your life unconsciously. It ends up running your life without you knowing it. So, overall, the ego, or a personality, it's a set of beliefs, memories, perceptions, thoughts, emotional patterns, and other elements of your life that defines you as a person. This could be your name, your history, certain experiences that you had, status, possessions you have, and more. All of those things that defines you as a person gives you this sense of self, an illusory-based identity. This ego for some people is conditioned by their cultural, religious, and societal backgrounds, and for some people it's a self-made character from past experiences and situations. Normally I like to call it the story of my life. Or to simply put it, me and my life. For example, a person might say, "This is my name called John. This is what I like or don't like. These are the places I have traveled, my failures, my possessions, what people have done to me or have done to others, and so on." This persona, or the false sense of self, pretends to be the real you by running your life unconsciously, and it is not, because the real you is just there observing it without judgments. The purpose of spiritualism is to transcend the ego by releasing the identification with it. In other words, is to stop deriving your sense of identity from it. That's the beginning of your authentic, true spiritual awakening. That's exactly what traditional spiritualism is trying to show you, that you are more than just your personality. Don't get me wrong, you will still have an ego as long as you are here in this world. You need an ego to function on this planet. It does serve a purpose in this world, but know that it is not you. It is just a mask you are wearing to play around with it. Within the tapestry of true spiritualism, the illusion of the self finds its most intricate threads woven into the complex fabric of the ego. This enigmatic construct, often misconstrued as synonymous with one's identity, serves as the linchpin of our perceived individuality. However, in the eyes of spiritual wisdom, the ego is a master illusionist, a theatrical performer that obscures the vast expanse of our true nature. Delving into the depths of traditional spiritual teachings, we unravel the layers of the ego's operation, peering into its mechanisms, its allure, and its ultimate transformation. Picture the ego as a skilled actor on the stage of consciousness. It dons various masks and costumes, adopting roles that align with societal expectations, desires, and fears. This role-playing begins in childhood as we assimilate the values and beliefs of our upbringing, gradually constructing a persona that reflects the world's expectations. The ego's script is written by external influences, and we, the unwitting participants, perform our lines with fervor. This theatrical presentation of self becomes so convincing that we often lose sight of the fact that we are, indeed, playing a part in a grand production. The ego finds its power in attachment, the clinging to identities, possessions, and ideas. In the realm of spiritualism, attachment is seen as the root of suffering, an anchor that ties us to the ever-changing tides of existence. The ego fuels attachment by perpetuating the illusion of separateness, the notion that I am distinct from the rest of existence. This separation is not only illusory but also the source of much discontent, as it fosters a sense of isolation and the relentless pursuit of external validation. As we progress along the spiritual path, the spotlight shifts from the ego to self-awareness. The practice of mindfulness and meditation illuminates the stage, allowing us to observe the ego's performance from the vantage point of the witnessing consciousness. This detachment creates a chasm between the roles the ego plays and the authentic self that lies beneath. Gradually, we recognize the ego's antics for what they are: projections, masks, and illusions, and we begin to unmask its mechanisms. In the realm of spiritual enlightenment, the ego faces its ultimate reckoning. The ego death, a transformative concept in various traditions, refers to the dissolution of the ego's dominance over consciousness. This phenomenon, often described as a profound realization, reveals the illusory nature of the ego and its separation from the interconnected whole. The ego, once the star of the show, steps off the stage, allowing the radiant authenticity of the true self to shine forth. The ego operates as a duality. Duality in a true sense is the existence or coexistence of two contrasting or complementary aspects, qualities or principles. It is a phenomenon that can be observed in various domains, including science, philosophy, spiritualism, and everyday life. Not only does it apply on these aspects, but also apply to the egoic mind, meaning the ego by nature is dualistic and it operates in a system of duality, opposites. There is a good side of the ego and the bad side of the ego. Some of you are deeply identified with the bad side of the ego, and it's very rare to find people identified with the good side of it. A lot of people cling to the negative story of their life. We tend to ruminate more on negative events and circumstances compared to positive ones. In other words, negative events and circumstances are food for useless thinking or mind activity. The ego operates as good and bad, past and future, me and they, right and wrong, success or failure, and so on. In ancient spiritualism, they like to call the ego the separate self. The separate self is another generic term used to describe the ego perceiving things separate from it. Due to the dualistic nature of the ego, it is only capable to view things as separate from it, sometimes referred as separation consciousness. Those dualistic components of your ego are all subjective constructs that creates this illusion which people see or know themselves. There's nothing you can do to change that dualistic nature of the ego because that's how the ego functions. Nature created duality for a reason, and we need to acknowledge that as part of the play. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to watch and engage with our content. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your comments and feedback inspire us to keep creating, so feel free to share your thoughts below. Until next time, thank you for being a part of our community. Stay awesome and take care.